Hello, Pong Stars, and welcome to the Rathole. This is your host, Commissioner Zach Eichten, coming at you live with my co-host for the day, team owner of the Google team name, Sam Olson. Sam, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, obviously we are coming off a pretty wild week here, so I'm excited to have Sam here get his take on the state of the league, state of his team, of course, along with much of our other league here. But let's dive into some of our recaps coming up here on the rat hole of week number 2. And let's start off with the sad one here. Of course, that is the Gluten Freaks falling to Jack's on, Jack's off.
Yeah, I was just say that is Josh is probably, I know John and Noel's team are always solid. But coming into this year, Josh's was the one that I was always on the fence on if I was truly nervous or how formidable he was going to be. And through these first 2 weeks, he is he's showing me that he's going to be scary and someone to watch throughout the rest of the year. I mean, obviously week 1, he's probably the best 1-1 team because he got absolutely shell shocked by Brennan from week 1.
Yeah.
But
yeah, tough.
That's a tough one to lose for the Gluten Freaks to go to 0-2. Probably the best 0-2 team you could have on paper for sure.
Yeah, what it comes down to is that the Gluten Freaks can't defend against the pass. And losing, getting 30 dropped on you by Amari Cooper in week 1. It was actually, I think it was 32.4 was Amari Cooper and 32.3 for Cooper Cup by Jack's on, Jack's off here, along with a 22.2 by Scary Terry on Thursday Night Football. Basically, once I saw Terry McLaurin had all 2s there, it was just like, all right, well, time to focus on other leagues. I actually have my other league that I'm in has a combination of Lamar Jackson, Ezekiel Elliott, and James Robinson as my starting 3. So at that point, I was like, you know what, just go off, I guess, because it's already over. And then, of course, seeing Cooper Cup drop 32 as well was tough. It's really strange getting 144 point something both weeks from the Gluten Freaks side. I wonder what will happen if I get another 144 dropped on me by Brennan next week. I may have to resign. I don't know what's going to happen there,
right?
But I'm excited to see where my team can end up once we aren't facing top 1 or 2 scorer week to week.
Right. Maybe if we drafted individual defensive players, you'd be able to defend against the pass a little bit better than the Dolphins' collective defense.
That would be really nice, huh?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my team isn't doing bad. I think they're okay. If I had, for instance, John's schedule, I'd be 2-0 at this point. If I had Thomas's schedule, I'd be 2-0 at this point. But alas, I did not, and here we are finding ourselves at 0-2. I will say the pressure comparatively to last year. So I started off 3-0 last year, and then barely snuck into playoffs. Just the pressure got to my guys. At this point, pressure's off. We're just out there to have fun and hopefully get a dub next week against Brennan. Well, let's hop on over to another great matchup here of the Gruesome Grinders versus the Spring Chickens. Tell me about your thoughts on this one.
Well, I mean, Brennan just proved to the league that he is what everyone has called him since I think you and Drew were doing the Keeper show, or was it John? I can't remember who did the Keeper show with you, but Brennan is just the epitome of boomer bust.
Yep.
I mean, he had 150 plus points week 1, and week 2 he is less than 100. I'm not going to make fun of him for being less than 100, obviously, with my performance this week.
Yep, smart move.
But just the sheer difference in scores is, I think, where you really see that, where in week 1, he had enough guys go off that he puts up this massive number. And then the second week, he has a very down to earth game and can't compete with Drew, who puts up another 140 plus point week. I think that's just Drew is just that consistent and really, really takes his time to pick his team and pick his matchups. And Brennan is all about the big play.
Yeah, there's two players on Brennan's team I want to talk about here. Of course, first one being Rob Gronkowski, another multi-touchdown performance from the Robert Gronkowski here. This could be the pick of the year, honestly, from Brennan. If Gronk is able to, get another 2 touchdowns each week, this is by far the potential for the greatest pick of the season.
I would second that. I mean, even if Gronk from the rest of the year just scores 1 touchdown a week with a handful of catches, I think it will be the greatest, most underrated pick in the draft that just reaps reward after reward. I mean, I don't know if Gronk can keep up these numbers. I mean, he's not old by any stretch of the imagination, but he's also not. Ironically, he's on the spring chickens, but he is not a spring chicken.
No, he is not.
So I just hope for Brennan's sake that yes, he keeps up this production. And even if it comes down a little bit, it's still much higher than anyone anticipated. And I just hope he can stay healthy throughout the year, which I think down in Tampa, the amount of work he has to put in practice, it sounds like is much less than in New England. And I wonder if that helps save his body with how big and how physical he is as a person.
For sure. Other player on Brennan's team, just want to put a little red flag by Dak Prescott, 7.48. That's a big yikes. Keeper level talent there. Allegedly didn't throw any touchdowns, but he was able to still get CeeDee Lamb 13.4 points even with that performance. So down week for Dak against what appears to be a fairly tough Chargers defense. We'll see how that lands moving forward. Before we move on here, quick flag, of course, Derrick Henry 44.7.
Holy shit!
Yeah, neat. I guess.
Didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Yikes!
Big score. Brennan was in dire straits with just that. With 44.7 points, that's actually eclipsing more than half of Brennan's score. So that was a tough uphill battle for the Spring Chickens last week.
Drew still beats him like pretty or does Drew still beat him without Derrick Henry?
No. If he got a 0 for Derrick Henry, he would not win, but it would be very close.
Oh, it would have been very close.
Yeah, actually, maybe he would have,
but
I don't know. I don't have a calculator.
So. I say I'm not doing that mental math, but I mean, Derrick Henry just under 3 times what his sleeper projection was.
Yeah,
that's
incredible.
Pretty solid. Hard to beat that.
Yes, it is. Let's head on over to Worse Than Trash versus the Imposters. Tony Townsend versus Assistant Commissioner Lucas Lawrenson. Tony moves to 1-1 with this victory, and Lucas moves to 1-1 with a loss here. Is it time to press the panic button on 2 specific players across these 2 teams? The first one, of course, being Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
He was so good in college that I understand when Tony took him that he was the clear number 1 overall.
Yep.
The problem is his running style, and from what I've seen at LSU, was a lot what he feeds off of just hitting people in the mouth enough times where they finally get tired. He had the Derrick Henry style in college. And now he comes over to this Chiefs team who I'm not taking any knock on the Chiefs offense whatsoever. They are a ridiculous juggernaut in the AFC West, but he's not running between the tackles and he's not running with the amount of carries and the just wearing down the interior linemen and interior linebackers like he did in college where that was his strength. He's not the flashy catch it out of the backfield, make a bunch of people miss. He's, from what I've seen, is a little more the put your head down 3 yards in a cloud of dust guy. So, I mean, but he still has all that potential. So it's hard to hit the full on panic button. But boy, would I be cautious to ever play him against a good run defense, because I don't think he'll put up any points.
Yeah, I think that's astute analysis, and of course a fumble cost the game there. So tough to watch. All right, on Lucas's team, I actually have two potential panic buttons here. The first one, of course, being Saquon Barkley.
I think that's sheerly still getting his feet under him, and they don't want to burn him out. I mean, 13 carries is a pretty good workload, but you can tell that the Giants are just trying to work him back into game condition. And with their offensive line, I know John's going to jump all over me for saying a running back and offensive, like, leans on his offensive line, but it's when it's that bad.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get anything going. And the Giants know that he is that good, that why in a season, now they're 0-2, like, it's his first season back, the first few weeks, like, just get the guy adjusted to it before he just starts getting absolutely hammered on every week. And I would not push the panic button on Saquon Barkley at all. I think in the next couple of weeks, it's just look at what his matchup is, and maybe he's not a starting running back and you put him in the flex spot. But eventually they are going to give him the workload that he deserves, and he's just that good, and eventually will be used in an offensive style that fits his running ability. I think the Giants are just being cautious because they know what they have.
Sounds like good analysis to me.
Is my thought. I don't know
the snap count thing, I'm guessing right now.
Yeah,
they don't want to break them again like they have the last two seasons.
Exactly.
Other flag for a panic button, of course, is George Kittle, but I think he still caught all four of his targets. It's just a matter of when he starts getting the volume again. But otherwise, good win from Tony. Despite Matt Stafford putting up some lower numbers, Najee Harris ended up getting the type of start I think that most people were expecting him. He had a total of 15 touches on the ball, got a touchdown. No, he only got 38 yards on the ground. So that's maybe a little bit of a cause for concern about efficiency. But, if he's catching receptions, getting all five of them, then, that turns out to be all right.
Yep, exactly. I think that is it was a great use of that number one pick. I mean, I think it's just a rookie that's trying to find his place in that offense. And I think you're only going to see it go up from there.
And let's of course mention the number one in standard formats right now, number two in PPR formats, Tyler Lockett, wide receiver, picked by Tony, I guess. Let's see when he busts. That's all I can really say. He's up against Minnesota, so certainly not next weekend, but maybe after that. We'll see. But yeah, good win for Tony, and we'll see how long he keeps Le'Veon Bell on his team. Next up, of course, is the Google team names versus the Dog Sniffers, where the Dog Sniffers move to 1-1. Google team names, lowest points on the week, and move to 1-1 with a loss as well. Despite Kyler Murray, Sam, what went wrong on your team this week?
So the biggest thing that went wrong this week was partially my fault in having two wide receivers on my bench go for more than 15 points. Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, just didn't like the matchups that they had going against New Orleans defense and Los Angeles's the LA Rams defense for Pittman. Just how formidable they are, and I really didn't think Carson Wentz was going to put on that good of a show before he broke whatever the hell he broke this week. The other thing was just my running backs just didn't show up, didn't perform. It does not help that Jarvis Landry got one reception before going out. So that kind of that one kind of hurts. Yeah, so that one's a bummer. But it's one of those where I mean, obviously with Kyler, T. Higgins, the Broncos defense, Butker had a good week overall. Made some obviously poor choices in the starting lineup for the wide receivers. It's just I need better, more consistent running back play. But you're going to take those lumps. I'd rather take them early in the season and kind of figure out where I am going forward. We're still 1-1. We're tied with a bunch of teams. I'm not too worried about us long term. Just getting ready for a big week 3 matchup against, some might say, my arch nemesis and John, as we do not have the great one going up against the Rock Plopstas, or the Lock Plopstas, I should say. But no, it was a tough week. Bummer to lose to Thomas, and I mean, obviously he put up a pretty solid week. It's not like I got edged in the lowest score bowl or anything. I mean, he put up a very, very solid week, and I'll tip my cap to him, and we'll move to week 3.
I mean, Thomas has definitely edged you before, but in fantasy football, at least not this week. This week for Thomas, of course, though, Thomas Brady, 5 touchdowns, 1 fumble, but still 5 touchdowns. A fantastic week for the old man,
which is just fucked.
And of course, Travis Kelce, who is just a wonderful spark of life on this team. What
are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how Thomas's team potentially gets a big upgrade at the wide receiver position, with the news coming out of Chicago that Justin Fields is at least going to be the starter in week 3 with Andy Dalton's injury. I think that Robinson has pretty good potential, but it's still Chicago, so let's see how they screw it up.
I was just saying, how are they gonna screw this one up? But the other thing is Fields is going to be more big play oriented in the gun slinging type. But he's also a rookie and is extremely fast. So how many of those dropbacks is he actually going to just end up running and not throwing deep to Robinson? Whereas Andy Dalton doesn't have that extra weapon. So I'm very curious to see how Robinson's stock's either going to go way up or way down, depending on how Fields plays. Because I feel like with Dalton, you knew he was going to be the number 1 target. And every time Andy dropped back, he would be at least the first read, because Andy can't run.
Yeah.
At least can't run on the level that Fields can.
That we are expecting Fields to be able to do. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of Chicago there, but congrats, Thomas, on the win. Let's move on over to last week's game of the week. Of course, that was the Lock Plopstas versus Randy's Donuts, 2 of our highest ranked teams. Personally, I was expecting a little bit more out of this matchup. With Randy's Donuts not clearing 100. That a lot of that was due to Justin Herbert and the Chargers getting a lot of garbage calls called on them, returning some touchdowns that ended up causing different issues. But overall, just looking at this squad, Joe Mixon scored about what I expected Joe Mixon to score week to week. But DK Metcalf underperforming again. And Jonathan Taylor was the one that I was most concerned about from this Randy's Donuts team, getting a lot of carries inside of the 10-yard line. Got 15 carries on the day, but could only get 51 yards off it.
Yeah, I was just say the Taylor one is surprising. 9 times out of 10 running backs coming out of Wisconsin, that's their bread and butter inside the 5-yard line and just punching stuff in. I know he's a second year in the league, but yeah, that's a tough one to swallow. Good and bad, I guess. At least they're giving the ball to Taylor in those situations with that crowded backfield that Indianapolis does have. It's good to see, at least for Noel right now, that Taylor, for at least last week, was the one that was getting all those carries. But kind of an interesting moving forward. Are they going to lean on Hines or Mack to knock it in the end zone if Taylor can't produce? So
Yeah,
I might.
Speaking of Heinz here, I have to say, John and I have a bet going, and I want to pull it up here. Is that I bet John $5 that Nyheim Hines is going to average between 8 and 12 points per game this fantasy season. So I'm cheering for Hines to have a mediocre season is what I'm cheering for at this point. And I actually made the same bet with John on the reverse side of things, where he bet Jamal Williams would have an average of 8 to 12 points for the same $5. So interesting bet.
Gotcha.
I'm going to put it out into the ether, keep us accountable, check in after week 17. But, you know,
I like it.
Nyheim Hines is pretty much guaranteed 8 to 12 points a week. Not this past week, though, because they did lose to the Rams. And that's where Cooper Kupp, ruined my day. But let's go over to the lock plopses here. Jalen Hurts, he did what roughly he was expected to do. I am a bit concerned about Washington's team and their use of Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
They gave him 13 carries for 69 yards. Nice. But in week one, a lot of the points opportunities for touchdowns went to JD McKissick. I am worried about how they are planning on using Gibson here.
I would say I would second that. It's just I wouldn't hit the panic button quite yet, but certainly something moving forward that John's going to have to figure out.
Yeah. And then, of course, Aaron Jones getting 38.5 definitely saved John here, even despite Antonio Brown and Jason Sanders putting up a combined 2.2 points. So good win to John there. I'm expecting bigger things when you guys face each other again. Week 11, I'm expecting a bigger blow-up matchup during that time. But let's move on over now to our fun fact of the week. All right, Sammer. This one's a fun fact for you. That I
feel like they've all been about me this year.
Yeah, but you're here, so I'm definitely gonna do one for you again. So we're looking at postseason here. Again.
Oh, great. Because my statistics in the postseason are awesome.
Sam's postseason, of course, as we all know, not awesome. 1-14.
I've never won in the winner's bracket. That's the worst part. The one win was in the fucking toilet bowl.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough for you. It wasn't even a toilet bowl. It was getting you just like out of it. So you didn't have to get there.
Oh yeah. It was the semifinal of the toilet bowl. My bad.
Yeah. Obviously you should have known that. But I want to talk about
I blocked the postseason from my mind.
Yeah. I want to talk about points against here. So I have total average points against in the postseason pulled up here. Sam, you actually have the number one average points against at 131.23. That is the next highest is Josh at 121.87. So nearly 10 full points more is scored on you in the postseason on average than the next highest team.
And everyone's giving me shit.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to get that. Yes.
That's bull.
Yeah. However, let's look at the average points for
well, we don't need to do that.
We do need to do that. Where Sam has the lowest average points for in the postseason at 98.41 and is the only team that has not broken into the triple digits there. Next lowest is Drew at 108.99. So almost 11 points more. So that is tough. So it's a recipe for failure, is what I'm saying here.
You don't win a lot of games when you get outscored by 40 points.
Yeah, when you are simultaneously the lowest point scorer and the highest points against, that is definitely a tough situation. Untenable, one might say, to win any games in that environment. So pick it up, I guess. I don't know what to tell you.
I guess. I mean, I mean, you can't play defense in fantasy unless we draft individual defensive players.
True.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of just that's a bonkers number that I get scored on 10 by an average of 10 more points than anybody else in the league.
In the postseason.
Granted, I'm not scoring enough to win anyway, but
but still, I guess your average points for is higher than Tony's average points against. So, like in theory, you could beat Tony. Oh, wait, that doesn't track. No, that doesn't track because he would need points for. So, no, you can't beat anyone. Sorry, you get your one victory against Thomas in like 2017, whenever that was. Good time.
Yeah, I think it was like the second year of the league.
Yeah, tough one for ye old Google team names, whoever they were at that time. But let's take a break here. We got an ad, and we'll be back in a second. Have an upcoming match against a wheat-based team? Now is the time to try Gluten Enzyme, the only pill guaranteed to put that pesky gluten in its place. Gluten Enzyme is a unique mixture of protease digestive enzymes designed to directly target the protein matrix of every player on the gluten-free roster, and specifically degrade the gluten component of this protein. But how does this really work? Well, the digestibility of the gluten will be increased, making those gluten freaks more like gluten ordinaries. You're guaranteed to score at least 144 points against gluten-based teams. Try Gluten Enzyme today. Breaking news, everybody. Breaking news. We have ourselves a haunted doll watch. Where of course we take the latest and greatest of haunted dolls on eBay and explore what it would be like to own a haunted doll for just a little bit, Sammer. This one, of course, is coming at us quick. It is a haunted doll by the name of Carissa that you can buy on eBay.
Nope.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
This is
pass.
Of course, this is a highly active, friendly tag-along haunted doll. And this, for the description here, of course, here we go. Here, I'll actually drop the link in the chat here so that you can see it, so you can follow along. Sam,
I don't know if I want to see it
with Carissa. There's some related sponsored items that are much, much worse.
That's terrifying. Oh, that's absolutely terrifying. Why are her eyes pink?
Well, let's read through and see if. Oh
no, I don't want to do any of this.
So, Carissa, you can own Carissa for 120 US American dollars, of course. And Carissa she's 10 years old, and her vessel is an 18-inch tall doll. If what you're looking for is a highly active spirit with a strong presence, then Carissa is the one for you. She's from my personal collection and is one of my favorite haunted dolls, so you'll be getting an amazing spirit with her. She's a spirit of a 10-year-old girl who fell through an iced-over pond and drowned. She is very active and has strong energy and presence around her vessel. The house she came from, she was actually found in their basement. They did not know where she came from or how she got there. After they found her, they kept seeing a spirit in their home and finding things in their home that would be not where they left them. Carissa likes meeting new spirits and children, and pets are very drawn to her. I actually have to keep my cat away from her vessel or she'll stay right beside her all day. LOL. She enjoys going out into the garden and is a huge fan of musicals. She especially loves the movie Grease. She's a big Grease head. This spirit really enjoys looking at old photos with me and my family. It's just something about vintage pictures that she loves. When you get her, don't forget to give her a gift and also light a white candle and some incense to welcome her spirit.
Fuck that. $120? That is like $1,000 too much. You'd have to pay me so much money. Actually, I take that back. You couldn't pay me enough money.
Well, it's
Fuck
just Carissa.
that.
She's a highly active, friendly tag-along spirit. She just likes to
So?
look at old vintage pictures of you and your family.
Yeah, that's fucking creepy, man. And if everybody else, you need to put this in like the group chat or the fantasy thing, because you need to see a picture of this fucking thing. It's got pink eyes and a blue dress. It's fucked up.
There's
That
much creepier dolls
up.
that are in here for sure.
Yeah, I bet there are. One's still creepy as shit. No, it's not. No, there's no reason to have this in your home ever. No way. Have you seen Chucky? They stab you.
Well, I mean, some of them do, but Carissa is, of course, a highly active, friendly tag-along ghost.
Yeah, what if you piss it off? I don't know.
Well, just make sure that
friendly
you
only goes
give
for
her
so
a gift
long.
and light a white candle and with some incense to welcome her into your home.
Nope. Hard pass. Not a chance. You're talking the guy who like hates scary movies.
Well, yeah, but the Carissa, like I said, is a highly active, friendly tag-along ghost spirit.
So I was born on Halloween, and I'm the biggest scaredy cat there is. And I'm man enough to admit it. I fucking hate scary things.
Well, then you should love Carissa because she's, as I said, highly active, friendly tag-along.
There's no such thing as friendly.
Well, she just likes to. She's a huge fan of musicals. Do you remember that she loves the movie Grease?
Yeah, which is also not that great of a movie.
Well, don't say that around Carissa. She could turn into a highly active, not friendly tag-along ghost.
Exactly.
Well,
this
folks,
that's gonna do it, man.
That's gonna do us here for Haunted Doll Watch. Let's get on over to our game previews for this upcoming week here. I'm excited, of course, for week number 3. And we're going to start ourselves off with the Gluten Freaks versus Spring Chickens. Sam, who's the one player on each team that you're looking at this week to make the difference?
Okay, Gluten Freaks and the Spring Chickens. I would say, Josh Allen, Washington football team, I think that's for the Gluten Freaks. I think that's where it's going to come down to. I mean, they seem pretty evenly matched throughout. I love Dak Prescott. But I just think Allen is going to be the difference maker in this matchup in outscoring Prescott. The other key watch, I should say, from the Spring Chickens is just Dalvin Cook and what is his status. Not only is he going to play, is he healthy enough to play, but if he is, what's his workload compared to Madison, who is at full health moving forward? And also, let's see, who do they go against? Seattle. So do the Vikings put him on a snap count to save him for later in the year, or does Zimmer feel the heat on his seat getting a little warmer going 0-2 to start the year? So those are my two in that matchup that should be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think those are two good ones. Mine is going to be Bobby Woods. Bob Trees here is my receiver to watch. He has not had a spectacular start, and Cooper Kupp has. So let's see what happens in this situation against Tampa Bay, where maybe Kupp starts to get more coverage than Woods. And then on Brennan's team, Dalvin Cook obviously is the one to watch. Derrick Henry just scored 44 points against Seattle. And we'll see if that is replicatable by Dalvin Cook. But let's move on here to our next set of worse than trash versus the dog sniffers. Sam, who's your two players to watch this week?
I think we're going to do a little callback to earlier. It's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We talked about, is it time to hit the panic button on him? And what his running style is going up against a surprisingly stiff defense in the Los Angeles Chargers over the first 2 weeks. It'll just be interesting to see what Kansas City has in store for them and how they're going to rely on the Clydesdale. And then for the dog sniffers, I mean, it's obviously, I'm going to take the player to watch and morph it into the position to watch. Thomas with the tightest of ends. That duo of Andrews and Kelsey is just always ridiculous, in a good way and in a bad way, that he actually does start 2 tight ends, but at the same time, they're 2 of the best, so it makes up for it. So those 2 are always fun to watch. And with Andrews going against Detroit's defense, I mean, look for a massive day from him. And Kelsey, I don't care who he's playing against, that just seems like he's going to go for at least 15. So those are my to watch in that matchup.
Yeah, my for Tony, my player to watch, of course, is Tyler Lockett. I was being somewhat facetious earlier when saying, against Minnesota, he's due for another 30-point game. But genuinely, is Tyler Lockett going to be able to keep up with the production? We've seen him work in the past. He's very much a boomer bust type player. He's boomed 2 weeks in a row. When is the bust? So Tyler Lockett could be a decision maker here. And then my next person on the list for Thomas's team, I'm also going to do position here. And it's who will be in the quarterback position, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Both played very well last week, but both have some pretty difficult matchups, I think, here against San Francisco and against the Rams. So one of those 2 will be in that starting position, but they're 2 of the best, 2 of the greatest of all time. And, a mistake here could cost Thomas the game. But let's move on over to game number 3, the Lock Plopstas versus the Googled team names. Sammer, who's your guys here?
The one to watch on the Googled team names is Alvin Kamara. Big offseason acquisition for the team. I think somebody who I know Drew and John and everyone have been kind of down and out on him. I think it's just the learning curve of going from a Drew Brees to a Jameis Winston. I think, and also didn't help last week that they had 8 offensive coaches sidelined due to COVID. Game planning was not always the easiest to do that, especially against a division opponent. Makes it even harder. So I think look for Alvin Kamara to have a really bounce back game here. Against New England. Looks like there is a chance of rain in New England this coming Sunday, which should bode well for the run game. You probably don't want Jameis dropping back and slinging it in the rain up in Foxborough. And then on John's side, the one that I'm most terrified of is actually just the Green Bay Packers in Adams and Jones. They just absolutely terrify me after what they did to the Lions yesterday, or 2 days ago or whatever it was on Monday night. His Packers duo there is just terrifying.
Yeah, I think that on John's team, position to watch here, and the player to watch in particular is going to be Darren Waller. Darren Waller is, I think, pretty much the undisputed number 2 tight end in the league right now behind Travis Kelce. But, he had a pretty big fall off from 19 targets in week 1 to 7 targets in week 2. He's up against Miami this upcoming week. And Miami has historically had a pretty tough defense, at least in recent memory. So we'll see if that impacts anything for Darren Waller. But Darren Waller is obviously a key player on this Lock Plops's team. And then for me, the Google team names player to watch is going to be Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, of course, having a pretty low week last week, only 5 fantasy points on 8 rushing attempts. Not great. Obviously he had six targets, 4 receptions, which saved him a little bit, but only 8 carries is really tough, especially against the Panthers. I just expected more. So we'll see going against New England. New England just scored 19 fantasy points last week against the Jets. We'll see how that goes for the star running back.
That's also Zach Wilson throwing 4 interceptions.
Zach Wilson's elite. Tony Romo said so. You can't convince me otherwise.
I mean, he probably is. I mean, he is literally trying to throw the ball to the Jets receiving core. So
yeah, Corey Davis doesn't know how to jump yet, so maybe he'll figure that out. But
he's learning.
Yeah, let's get over to next matchup here of Randy's Donuts versus the Imposters. I'm going to go first here. Player to watch, of course, is going to be Justin Herbert on Randy's Donuts. Herbert's coming off 2 weeks back to back of sub 15 points. He's still in the starting lineup, but he is QB number 25 right now in the league. We'll see if Herbie's able to keep his starting spot, especially when Justin Fields is on this team and will be starting in Chicago this upcoming week. We'll see which one of these young quarterbacks gets the start. For Lucas, this is sort of an every week thing, I think, watching Saquon Barkley. He's up against Atlanta. In theory, favorable matchup for him. We'll see if he gets the volume.
So in the Randy's Donuts, my player to watch is Jonathan Taylor. We talked about him earlier in the review from last week. Going up against Tennessee, don't know what to make of the Tennessee Titans this year.
Yeah, me either.
For the first 2 weeks, just very both sides of the spectrum. So I'm not sure what that matchup looks like. But just one, will Taylor still get the same touches? And not only the amount of touches, but will Taylor get those short yardage end zone touches that he clearly did not punch in last week? Or do they look to one of their other backs in that crowded backfield? For the dumb posters, I am going to switch it up from Saquon Barkley because I agree that, that's just always going to be a question for Lucas and someone to watch. But I think this week it's going to be interesting to watch Russell Wilson. Has had 2 really stellar weeks, Tyler Lockett being the major recipient of those 2. But like John has said previously in this program, Russell Wilson's the first half MVP almost every year. The guy is just phenomenal earlier in the year. And then he usually kind of tapers, or not tapers off, but simmers down throughout the season, going up against a very middle of the road Minnesota defense. Still very strong, but not the formidable one they were a couple of years ago. It'll be interesting to see if he keeps it up and is able to hit Lockett and Metcalf for those deep strikes down the field, or if he just picks and chooses his throws this week. But it'll be interesting to see how Russell Wilson goes after having 2 pretty solid weeks.
All right, and let's get over to our game of the week. Of course, it is the battle of former roommates of Drew Mahold and the Gruesome Grinders versus Josh Polingo with Jax on, Jax off. Player to watch, of course, on Drew's team is Devin Singletary. And this sort of revolving door of RB2 on this team. He's between Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, an RB2 situation. Both of them going against Washington. That is a tough matchup. And we've seen both these guys score over 140 points last week. So having, that slight negative edge there for Singletary could be the difference maker in giving Josh the win. On Josh's side, James Robinson is my guy to watch. He has been held to pretty low performance this year so far with what should be a lead role down in Jacksonville, but they have not been winning at all. And even with Trevor Lawrence there, held to 7.9 points last week, 6.9, nice the week before. Robinson's got to keep it up. Otherwise, I think he might be losing that starting spot soon.
No, that's a good one. I think for Drew's team and the Gruesome Grinders, my guy to watch here is Patrick Mahomes, coming off a loss last week in Sunday Night Football. I look for Kansas City to bounce back and be pretty ferocious and pissed off as they open AFC West play with the Chargers at home. But like we've said throughout this podcast, the Chargers defense is surprisingly much better than people are giving them credit for.
Yep.
So I'm I'm not saying that Mahomes is going to go for way less or whatever, but it's going to be an interesting. He's going to be an interesting player to watch. Is he going to have that bounce back from having a loss last week to the Ravens and just absolutely torch them, or is the Chargers defense for real and able to hold him to a Mahomes, what would be a lesser performance for Mahomes and a relatively average performance for every other quarterback in the league? And then on the other side is Noah Fant for Josh's team. He's been one of Teddy Bridgewater's favorite targets, especially down close to the red zone the last couple of weeks, going up against the New York Jets, whose defense is clearly better than their offense, but not stellar by any stretch of the imagination. Going to be an interesting one, I think, moving forward. Having to go up against Robert Tonyan on the other side, I think Noah Fant has the edge in that. It's just how healthy is he and how many targets will he get? But he is emerging as one of Teddy Bridgewater's favorites through 2 weeks. So I think he's an interesting one to watch in that match.
And we love Teddy here, of course, on the Rathole. Wish him good luck in Denver. But that's all we have. That's all we have this week here on the Rathole. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.